to this episode of Playmakers ko Ravinder Hunia tōku ingoa. Look, the netball season is finished for 2021, but preparations for 2022 are running red hot behind the scenes. And to talk with me about it today, I'm very honoured. Two guests. I'm spoiled. First, we have Silver Fern shooter Maia Wilson and also our Sky Sport presenter Storm Purvis. Kia ora kōrua.
Kia ora, Rav. Kia ora, Maia.
Kia ora, guys.
Now this is cool.
I know. Yay. Just when we thought it was over.
Exactly.
You
Well,
can't stop us.
That's right. Well, we have our Inside Netball podcast that we do here at Sky Sport, and just when the season's over, there is still so much to talk about in terms of what's coming up and what our netballers are still actually doing to get ready for these big tournaments and domestic competitions next year. So let's get on to that, because the Commonwealth Games draw has come out, and there is a lot of talk about it, and so there should be. But I'll start with you, Maia. What are your thoughts on the draw, and perhaps what's the chat around camp about it?
Yeah, very exciting. I think for us in camp, we've been waiting to see what was happening with Commonwealth Games. So COVID hasn't been the greatest, but we're excited to be able to get back on the world stage in a Commonwealth Games. It's very pinnacle in terms of leading up not only to Com Games, but to the World Cup the year after. So we're really excited. We just want to get as much test series and training camps under our belt so we go in really prepared.
Obviously, you do want to get in that preparation. So how does it actually look? Do we know what's happening under, what could possibly be bubbling under the surface? Because obviously the Cadbury series and that series against England can't possibly be enough ahead of the Commonwealth Games. Storm, what are your thoughts on that?
And honestly, every time I catch up with Maia or Gina or any one of the Silver Ferns players, just socially, I'm like, so what's happening? What's next? Can you guys tell us where you're going to play? Are you going to make it to Aussie? And I understand, Maia, there's always something in the pipeline. Like you've got plan A, B, C and D with Knowles, right? When it comes to your preparations and having something to kind of have to make sure that you will go in ready to go, not underdone. But my understanding is that you're hopefully heading across the ditch and possibly even to the UK for a Northern tour. Is that any news on whether that's going ahead yet?
Yeah, I think there's still been talks that we'll head to the UK, which would, fingers crossed, that would be awesome, and potentially get another Consolation Cup under our belt. It was really nice to have Aussie here on our home soil earlier this year, and not to be able to get another test series against Aussie was pretty critical. But I guess we're lucky enough to have had the English series and the series against the men. But like you both said, we need to be playing more, and we need to be able to test those combinations so that the best 12 are going to Birmingham.
We were talking off camera that there's still a lot of qualifying to go before these pools are even signed, sealed and delivered yet. So keep an eye on that space to, to lock in all those matchups coming up. But what's the feel in camp? Because, we had Coach Nolene Taurua on Inside Netball who said that they will settle for nothing less than gold. Is that the kōrero in camp? Is that the mindset of the Silver Ferns? Yeah,
definitely. We're out here to win, and coming off the international season that was 2021, we came out of it not the happiest. I think we really wanted to be quite solid against England, and we weren't able to do that. So we've got stuff that we need to go back in our back pocket and come out with winning games. And particularly, we've been a game of two halves, either a really good first half or a really good second half, and we need to be a lot more consistent with that. So going in, we want to win, we're there to win, and I guess it'd be really nice to come out with a gold medal at the end of the day.
Exactly. And Storm, what are your thoughts on that? Because, for Nolene, that's probably the last little strike that she would want to, to compete with, to achieve, is that Commonwealth Games gold medal, especially after the last campaign that we had. So do you think there's much pressure on Nolene to get that gold?
I don't know whether Knowles ever feels pressure or whether that's something that she'd ever admit that she feels. But I know she definitely strives to achieve, and that's got to be a huge driving point to her. She's won the World Cup, she's won the Constellation Cup for the first time in 9 years earlier in the year, and has really managed to turn the Ferns around significantly from the last time we were at the Com Games. So it only makes sense to kind of come this full circle motion and top it off with a gold at Com Games, and it's definitely something that's achievable. But at the same time, like a lot of international sport, we are really unsure on what the other countries are looking like at the moment. We did see England over here, and that was a great series, but they were without, some of their big guns in Joe Harton and Helen Halsby. I don't think we've seen much of Australia at all. The Constellation Cup feels like it was ages ago, and they were trialling new combinations, new captains, a new coach. So who knows what they're going to be like. So I know we talked about it 5 minutes ago, but these next few months are going to be super important, not only for the Ferns, but every country that's going to be playing at these Com Games, to really get an idea of what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's kind of exciting that we have no idea what it's going to look like at the moment. But if anyone's, Knowles will have, like I said, she'll have plan A, B and C. She'll have everything planned out. She'll know what to expect with every country and know the different combinations. We know she's pretty well travelled and has coached a lot of these players around the world in different leagues. So if anyone can do it with little preparation, it'll be Knowles. And I know she'll want the gold medal for sure.
Yeah. Maia, how do you as a team prepare for that? Storm's talking about, there is such the unknown at the moment, and the England side we saw is not the England side that, will be, courted at the Commonwealth Games. Australia, we haven't seen, their starting seven. It could be anybody. How do you prepare for the unknown like that?
Yeah, I guess for us, it's just looking at what can we do against ourselves. Our biggest test, as we know, it's you versus you and whatever you bring. So we need to really bring the best out of each other and not necessarily trying to focus on those other sides. We know once we get to those, hopefully those competitions prepping up to Birmingham, that we'll be able to analyse them. But for us, it's just focusing on what we can do better. And coming out of these last two series, there's a fair few bit we can do. And I guess it's the first time we've got a December camp coming up with the Silver Ferns and the Silver Ferns development. So it'll be the first time both squads have been together. And if we can get as many of those girls into the processes, really being consistent and a bit more integrity in that, I think that's where we're going to look at.
How does that work for you though, Maia? Because more players in the mix means more competition for you and a spot in that travelling squad. So, how much, gears do you kind of have to rev up to make sure that you are staying on Nolene's mind in that shooting circle?
Yeah, geez, competition is absolutely fierce at the moment, and it's throughout the majority of the court. In particular, I feel more in our mid-court in particular and our defensive end, but definitely in our shooters, I feel like we're getting a bit more of a good stock coming through, people who are well-conditioned and really pushing for a bib. So it's anyone's game. No one owns that starting 7 bib or in the 12, actually. So you've got to work really hard, and I think we've realised that it is going to be quite a busy 2 years in particular coming up. So we did have a 5-week break, and that's really going to be our only time off for the next 2 years. So we need to make sure that we're coming in well-conditioned and, ready and rearing to fight it out.
You talk about being well-conditioned, Mize. Just going back to the draw, I mean, you guys play Friday, Saturday, you have Sunday off, then you play Monday, Tuesday. If you don't get to have the series where you can kind of really put that to the test and play back-to-back games, we know Knowles is a big fan of her doom camps. I hear all about these camps where people are battered and bruised and sleep for weeks after them. Do you know if December's going to be like that, or you'll have a few of those before you head across to Birmingham?
I think December is exactly that camp that you're talking about, Storm. And if I'm being honest, I think I'm not the only one who's a little scared to get into camp, because we know we're going to be absolutely thrashed. But we know that there's a method to the madness, and this is prepping us to be able to play those back-to-back games. I think majority of us in the past have been able to do that. So it's just trying to get those other ones on board and reminding the body that it's not going to die, it will survive, and in the end it's going to be really good for us.
Do you know if, the levels are going to be, put to another bar? Do you know if it's going to be raised, or will it be the same and you need to just, beat former times, or how does that work?
It's really interesting when this fitness testing quarter always comes around, not only outside of our environment but in, and we have had that question before, do we just continue to keep raising the bar? And some points there is that was the original. I remember a couple of years ago when Knowles came in with 16-1 and then it got raised to 16-3 on the yo-yo, but it gets to a point that you only need to be tests don't necessarily apply for everybody. Not everyone's good at it, and just need to bring what you can bring on the day, and it's sort of that checkbox that, hey, we're able to get out there and play a 60-minute test.
Honestly, it used to annoy me so much with fitness testing. Way back when Phoenix Karaka and I were in the steel and squads together, she played goal defence and she'd play a full 60 minutes of goal defence and nail it, not be puffed. I'm like, oh my gosh, how do you do that? Like, I run a whole yo-yo level higher than you. You know, I'm getting 17s, you're getting low 15s, and I can't play more than 20 minutes at goal defence on the court. So you're so right, Maia, that there's a bit of give and take, right, with these testing numbers.
Yeah, definitely. I think you got to find that balance, and like you say, so I know some people, I can pip them on a Bronco test and then they absolutely pip me on a yo-yo, so they're so different, and you, as long as you can play quality netball for 60 minutes in those positions consistently back to back, I think that's what those yo-yo standards sort of give you, that tick box that you are fit enough to be able to last, in particular in a match schedule where you're playing 2 days on, a day off, another 2 days on. That's intense.
As well as all of this, though, Maia, there's another little competition, you know, bubbling away, and that's the ANZ Premiership, which is, 15 weeks away? You're the captain of the Northern Stars at the moment. So is this, you know, I mean, obviously not a priority. Of course it's a priority for you. But, I mean, when you've got major international season coming up, a big domestic season coming up, you know, how much priority is given to the ANZ Premiership, and how much give, I suppose, are you given being a part of the Silver Ferns camp?
Yeah, at the moment it is a bit of a balance. We are starting our ANZ Premiership pre-season prior to Christmas, as of this week, I think. And so we have to balance that with Fern's commitments at the moment. But once pre-season is full on, ready and rearing to go in February next year and January, actually, we're going to have to be put in there. And we need to be able to put our best foot forward. I guess selectors need to be able to see that we can consistently perform, and I'm not sure whether there is a trials for the Commonwealth Games team. It could be based on our performance in the ANZ Premiership. I'm not sure, so we need to be able to really put our foot forward in the ANZ Premiership.
Yeah, that's a great question, actually, about qualifications, with the two being, practically overlapping each other, really, when you think about it. How are the girls with the Northern Stars? Do you touch base with them often, if at all? And, you know, the feel within camp to come back maybe in 2022 with a bit of vengeance and a bit of a rocket up for next season?
Yeah, our hearts are still a bit sore and mummy from our 2021 season, and so that does give that extra fire to want to come in and really give a good go, not only in pre-season but in particular in the season. And again, consistency is always a word that's brought up in everything, so that's what we're searching for. But I guess for us, and what is Auckland, COVID has put a bit of a halt into plans during the off season to train together, but we just know we've got to make the most of what we can, and it's just how it is. We've got to have to live with COVID. We're just going to have to be adaptable and adjust to whatever those restrictions are. But no matter what they are, we're not going to let them hinder our preparation.
Looking at the squad for 2022, Maia, obviously that fire is burning, you know, it's roaring really, because you managed to keep Anna Harrison on board after she kind of swore that this would be her last season. You never say never with Scar, so she's back playing. You've also bringing in the likes of Kayla Cullen and Holly Fowler, kind of pretty much foundation stars players. So, I mean, what are they going to bring to the team this year that can really help take you guys to that next level?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, we're really happy to have 8 players that stayed for the Stars. It's actually so unnormal for us. So I think we're really glad to be able to keep a solid, good core, and then to add the likes of Kayla and Holly back into the environment, who are very well known. They've been around since day dot, like you said, that are both foundation players. So it'll be nice to reintroduce them back into the who we are, because we have evolved since they have left. So I think it's exciting. It just means that even more bolstering of a defensive end that I thought was already strong. But geez, that competition in there is going to be fierce. But I'm just really excited to see. Yeah, you talk about Kayla and Holly are awesome attacking defenders, so I'm really looking forward to being on the end of a few of their balls.
Of course. Now, Storm, a question for you about pre-season. Obviously, you've been a part of these environments before, and with netball being a winter sport, you know, the pre-season and the nice time of the year, the warm time, the Christmas time, you know, coincides right next to pre-season. So there must be so much sacrifice and discipline required over the pre-season. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. They always try and give you a week or two over the kind of Christmas, New Year period because they understand that we are semi-professional athletes. I say we were, I was. And they want you to sort of be able to enjoy life and not feel like you are taking too many sacrifices, but some coaches definitely kind of have the whip out a little more than others, and they'll, you know, be wanting you to keep an eye on sending in Bronco times every couple of days. Or I remember one year I was over in Byron Bay for a New Year's Eve festival, and coach at the time made me do a Bronco over there, and it was like 40 degrees, so hot it wasn't funny. I was with my partner at the time. I said, can you just help me run this? Might have been hungover, not sure. And they're just, you know, just these things that you send back, and you do it as long as you're showing that you're getting out and actually trying. I think that's all that really matters. You might not be training, you know, the best quality you ever have, but it's for your own good. Like, you want to come back into a pre-season and not feel like absolute death when you hit the court. So as you get older and wiser, you kind of understand that a bit more, and you don't really view that training period as a sacrifice, just more as a chance to get yourself as prepared as possible to get the most out of the season. So you say it's a winter sport, but it's really not. I mean, Maia's, especially being a silver fern, it's, you know, 11 and a half months of the year really that you're training, playing, involved. So there's not a lot of downtime, but that's okay. That's why we do it, because we love it.
Well, Maia's talking about not getting a break for the next 2 years.
Yeah, she's not lying.
Maia, last question on preparations for 2022. How many shots a day, a week do you think you're putting up to train your shot?
Oh my God, so many that I can't count. I feel like I'm at the post for like an hour, sometimes 2 hours every day, and sometimes on the weekends. But I'm quite lucky. My family down here in Wellington will get the tennis racket out. They might get one of those tackle bags and be pushing me around. So it gets quite competitive, and I'm not going to say there's always love in there, because sometimes I do get ditty and stuff because I'm just so over them with their advice. But, you know, I'm very lucky to be able to have them. Sometimes I do have a joke that I've got like 4 other Noeling Todors that live in my house. But hey, it's all love, and so nice to have that support.
It's actually a nice yet scary thought to know that there are so many taskmasters in the house. Look, talking about 2021 as a whole, the New Zealand Netball Awards are just around the corner, December the 8th, and Sky Sport are proud to be hosting it right here on our channel. When I think about putting our players up for awards this time around, I find it really hard to think of winners. There's, you know, the Silver Ferns have gone through so much of a transformation over this past international season, which hasn't really finished. But it's hard to say who would be given those, you know, top spots in an awards type environment. But we will start with Moment of the Year. So this is proudly presented by Sky Sport. And the top 5 moments for 2021 was the National Netball League by the Marvels over the Comets, the Mystics ANZ Premiership win, Tiana Metuaro's debut, which I thought that's such a great little inclusion to put in there, the Aotearoa men's series, and also the Constellation Cup win. I'm biased, and Storm might be as well, because we commentated the National Netball League final, and it was just amazing to be a part of. So that I've already actually gone in and voted.
You voted.
I have, and you can do the same at newzealandnetball.co.nz. But when you guys look at that, you know, selection of 5, who would you say?
I feel like we're probably going to say the same thing, Maia, because the one that stands out for me, I just feel like it's a no-brainer, is the Constellation Cup win, considering we hadn't
100%.
won it in so long. And I had to really think back to where I was and what I was doing and how I was watching it, because it feels like it was last year. I can't believe it was this season. But I actually checked my Crowd Goes Wild group chat, and I was just non-stop, just hounding, punishing everyone, being like, are you guys watching this? Oh my God, this is amazing. So to get that kind of response out of me, and to, you know, bully my workmates that much to try and get the same response out of them, I just feel like that's a really incredible moment. And Mice, I'm sure you remember more about the whole series, but it was quite something, considering the adversity around moving it to Christchurch and all the uncertainties with it all. It was amazing.
Yeah, definitely. That was the moment that I had picked myself. I thought the whole occasion that it was, I think the coming down to the last game and how intense that last game was, it did feel like last year. To me, it even felt like it was another year. So it's been quite interesting to see how the Silver Ferns, I guess, team has changed slightly even since then in March, and that wasn't that long ago, and seeing the likes of Grace Nweke and Tiana Metuara and all these people who are debuting, and it's just so amazing to get people out on court and make it really competitive, and hopefully there's some glorious moments from Birmingham that are going to come up for next year.
I'm sure there will be, but yes, I'd have to agree. Quite fitting too when you see Tiana Metuara's name up there for a little mention. I think the last time we won the Constellation Cup was under her mum as coach, Waimarama Taumonu, which is, all the feels. But all 5 very worthy moments.
Absolutely.
In the same token. Look, whānau, don't forget, you can go to the New Zealand Netball Awards website, newzealandnetball.co.nz, and place your vote by the 1st of December to have your vote count. Also, scroll down a little further, go to fan favourite. Our very own guest today, Maia Wilson, is up for a vote. So if you think she was your favourite Silver Fern of the year, you can cast your vote. But all the Silver Ferns are up for that as well, so you can vote on your favourite Silver Fern. Blimmin' tough to be able to pick that, like we said, with all the transition that's happened this year.
I think if you think back to Constellation Cup, like I remember thinking, yourself, Mize, you had an outstanding series. Meals, Amelia and Ikanasio was in there and captained it incredibly. Jane Watson was in there being that, head pin at the back in defence. And then you look back to the most recent Fern series, Meals wasn't there, Jane wasn't there. Gina Crampton had to stand up as captain and did a pretty good job. Karen Berger spearheaded the defensive end and did a great job. So it's really hard to try and pinpoint. You need like a pros and cons table or something. Someone needs to help us out, because that's going to be a super tough one to pick.
Now, let's get down to the business end of these awards, and it's always the Lois Muir Supreme Award. And who won this award the last 3 times? Laura Langman, and not to mention Laura Langman. Literally 3 times she's won this award, no one else has won it. How do you put our Silver Ferns, our current Silver Ferns, in a box to say, and pluck one out to say, you were the Supreme Award winner this year?
It's impossible. And I think in a team sport in general, it's really, really hard, especially when a team's been going through a transition period, or at least a rocky period, where different people have had to step up in different areas of the courts have had debutants or have had to solidify their spots. It's just been one of those years where that's going to be really, really tough. And I know as a default, sometimes you go to the captain or something like that, or a player who's the most specky, but I just really feel like you can't do that this year, and it really has to come from deep inside the camp. I think Knowles and everyone needs to get together and really pull apart moments from the year, things that maybe you and I, Rav, aren't privy to, that you might know about Maia within the squad. I don't know, it's going to be really interesting. Any inside word, Mize?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if it's inside word, but you talked about before, like, I think it's a tale of 2 halves. There was the first half of the year, and now there's the second, and I don't know who the heck is going to get it, because it's so tough. And like you say, different people have been pivotal in different points. So I don't know how you judge something like that, because there's been some really amazing moments. But yeah, again, who's been consistent enough? I'm not quite sure.
It's like in years gone by, and I don't want to sound horrible, but sometimes you go, oh well, it's a show-in for so and so. Yeah. And especially after the World Cup, big pivotal moments like that. But I just don't know. I don't know who is judging that, the awards night, but I think that alone will force me to tune in very, very closely and intensely to see.
My defender's bias, I'm going Karen Berger. I'm just thinking consistency throughout the year, and I love her as a player, as an ex-defender. I love watching her. So if I'm going to be the only one to put my hand up and pick someone, I'll do it. I'm going Karen.
I'm not going to pick anyone, because I still want Maia to be my
friend. I know. Or you, Mummies, of course.
You know what, though? Karen would be my pick, to be honest. I think you're on the right lines. If you had potentially had the likes of Jane and Niels and Sulu and Gina throughout the whole year, they bolster our leadership, not only off court, but in particular the impact and the leadership that they have on. And I think Karen's been around and played some amazing ANZ Premiership. I'm not sure if that comes into the criteria too. So yeah, you never know. Karen, to me, she's just been outstanding.
Wahine Ma, thank you so much for joining me. Before we go though, Maia, what happens from here on in? What's the plan moving forward from here?
Training, because you get no more rest for 2 years. So, yeah, getting back hard to work. ANZ Premiership pre-season, still with Ferns and Ferns Development Camp in December, which, even though it doesn't feel like I'm going to survive, I will be alive by the end of it. And, yeah, looking ahead at what 2022 looks like, but very exciting. So much netball that's going to come in the next 12 months.
Nice.
There's a lot.
Again, Korua, thank you so much for joining me on this special edition of Playmakers. Have a very Merry Christmas and a safe holiday.
Same to you, Rav.
Shot whānau. Merry Christmas!
Whānau, don't forget that you can catch the New Zealand Netball Awards here live on Sky Sport December 8th, Sky Sport 1, to see who is going to take away that prestigious award, because that will be the award on everyone's lips. From us here, though, mā te wā.